So today is Sunday, it's Mother's Day 2018, and I am getting ready to drive down to Pueblo, Colorado from Denver, Colorado to see my mom for Mother's Day. And this Mother's Day is a little different for me and for my mom and my brother and my dad because my father is currently on palliative care in an assisted living facility in Pueblo, and he is dying from liver failure and kidney failure. He was an alcoholic for many, many years and was sober for about 13 years. About 2 years ago, he started binging again, and of course we were devastated because we knew what that would have meant. And a couple of weeks ago, he turned very, very orange and yellow and was still drunk, started talking kind of crazy, even when he was sober, saying things that didn't make sense. And my mom looked at him and said, "We need to get you to the emergency room. I think it's time that your body's failing, and we don't want you to have a stroke or get brain damage or anything and end up in a nursing home, so let's take you in." And my mom and brother took him to the emergency room. They admitted him. And that's where we learned that he probably wouldn't leave the hospital. So this Mother's Day is really hard because as I drive down there, it's about a 2.5-hour drive. All I think I'm gonna be able to think about is that this is the last time that I'm gonna see my father alive. Although it is no quality of life, because we found out yesterday that due to the liver failure, that he has lost all dexterity in his hands. He lost the ability to swallow food. He's barely alert, he can't keep his eyes open. And this is my mom's Mother's Day, where we will spend more than likely most of the afternoon and evening and the night in the hospital with my father, who for some reason 2 years ago got so depressed that he started drinking again after 13 years completely sober. And all I can think of is what an angel my mom's been to stay with him through his alcoholism, through watching him suffer through his own father's alcoholism. And I remember a story that my mom told me about how when my father was about 27 years old, and I wasn't born yet, and my grandpa JD, who my brother is named after, was a drunk, and he was stumbling and falling and getting into bar fights, and he was just the kindest, most amazing man in the world. And she told me that my dad once asked him, he said, "Dad, don't you feel like your kids, me and the 3 boys, and your family and your future grandkids are enough to live for, that you can stop drinking? Like, can you please just find something more important than alcohol, than having beer and whiskey?" And my grandpa JD kind of just laughed at him. Whether he was drunk or not, it doesn't really matter. He kind of laughed at him and said, "Nope, I just like my drinks." So when my dad was 29 and my grandpa JD was 51, my dad's little brother found him in his room, and he never woke up. He had a stroke due to alcoholism. And I remember how hurt my father was, and the stories that my father would tell me, and even my mom would tell me about alcoholism, about how he was just crushed by losing his best friend, who was his own father. And the ironic thing about alcoholism is that as sad and depressed as my own father was about that, he
became so depressed, and the loss of his father was so great that he fell into the same exact pattern. And I honestly don't know why I'm making this video. I honestly don't know who it's gonna help. But all I want to say is that if you are the son or the daughter or the wife or the husband or the niece or nephew, grandmother or grandfather of someone who suffers from alcoholism, that I assure you, after having seen my father drink and get sober and then go through all of this again, that I assure you that they still love you. They still want the best for you. And it's unfair to ask someone who suffers from alcoholism to choose you over the alcohol. Because there's no contest. You're not even in the same category. You know, there's love and there's desire and there's affection and there's care, and then there's requirement and need and depression and disease. And I think it took me a really long time to deal with my issues about not being good enough and craving love from my father and wondering why my mom and myself and my brother and my parents' dogs weren't enough for my dad to want to just live a healthy, long life. And my mom and I talk about this a lot, where we believe that my father and his father and all of us, as a matter of fact, were dealt the hand that we were meant to live in our lives and in this lifetime before we were even born. And I believe that there's nothing that my mother, myself, my brother, my grandfather could have done that would have changed the way that my dad lived his life. And to be honest, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm grateful for my father forcing me, and forcing's a bad word, for my father giving me the opportunity to live and push past the pain and the suffering and the compassion and the blame and the anger and the insecurities of having an alcoholic father. Because I wouldn't have this story to share with you. I recently read, or listened to rather, a YouTube video from a doctor. I'll see if I can look it up and put a link in this video. But it helped me, but then it also kind of made me upset and question the validity of some of the things that I found, because in the article it was titled 20 things that all children of alcoholics have in common. And so I was like, oh wow, you know, and this is around 2 weeks ago when my dad first was admitted, and we knew that this probably would be the last time that he would be admitted because he wouldn't leave. And the article talked about how all children of alcoholics are insecure. All children of alcoholics have anger issues. All children of alcoholics are usually very OCD or completely in disarray with their lives. All children of alcoholics crave the love of their father if the father's alcoholic, and all children of alcoholics crave the love of their mother if their mother's an alcoholic. And it just was so funny, because as I was like taking myself outside of the shoes of having an alcoholic father, I just thought, this could really apply to anybody. This is kind of a load of shit, to be honest, pardon my language. But as I was listening to it, I was like, it's almost like saying, you know, all children of alcoholics could get hungry from time to time, or could, I don't know, go have a job. And it was just so generalized that I almost was just like, this person is literally psychologist, a professional family counselor, and has all of these certifications on paper. And why did I feel like he was speaking a foreign language to someone who grew up with an alcoholic father, who literally, when they were in junior high, would have to put earplugs in so that they didn't have to hear their father dry heaving in the bathroom? Or, you know, that they would have to see a bottle of whiskey hiding behind the laundry, you know, detergent in the downstairs. Or that, you know, your dad he would literally get upset and he'd be like, I told you no glasses on the computer. We told you. And he would like bop me on the head. Not hard. He just bopped me. He'd be like, hey, none of that. And I was like, Dad, that's your glass that you set there literally a second ago. Oh, okay. Well, takes his glass and walks away. I'm like, how are you telling me what I, as the child of an alcoholic father, can or cannot feel? Are you crazy? Like, based on how I grew up and what my experiences were, and based on someone else who was a child of an alcoholic grew up and what their experiences were, we're gonna behave completely differently based on that same exact scenario. So basically, you are full of shit, sir. I adore your qualifications and I respect you. Maybe I won't put the link in here now. But I just wanted to let anybody know who is watching this, who grew up around alcoholism, that you absolutely are not alone. And I have never, ever, ever been able to find anything online that had somebody that I could talk to about, you know, what do I do in this scenario? How do I deal with this? And I mean, I've really come up with a few tips that I've learned from my mother, from articles, from videos, that from any age, from the time that you're 3 years old, probably up until you're in your 70s, to cope with alcoholism in your family. And I'm going to be releasing an ebook on that. I'm going to be creating another YouTube channel for articles and anything that I want to talk about, a podcast. I wanted to let you guys know that I'm putting that together, in addition to writing my other book and my bio. So everything happens for a reason. I was working on writing my book that was supposed to be submitted to my publishing team and my editors on June 4th, but now with the death of my father imminent, I thought that this would be somewhere that I could really truly write from the heart as it was happening, to be of more use to everyone else. So no matter what stage you're in of your family member or close friend and their journey with alcoholism, I think that this will be very helpful for you. So I wanted to thank you all so much for listening this far, 13 minutes in. I might edit this video, but it all happens for a reason. This life that you're living and the challenges that your family member or your friend are putting you through, I don't think that the universe or God or whatever you believe in would be putting you through this if you weren't strong enough to handle it. And I think also, I believe in my heart of hearts that no matter what you're going through, that you almost need that in order to advance to the next higher level of yourself. But also, I believe that we chose this life because we were strong enough to live it, and we are good enough. And I think that there's a lot of beauty in suffering, because every single great storyteller or mentor or leader or visionary or person who you admire because of their strength, if they had no trials, tribulations, and challenges, and no sadness, no loss, no fury at some point, they wouldn't have stories worth telling that people would want to actually listen to and learn from. So I hope that whatever you're going through, that someday you can find the strength to share your pain and how you overcame whatever challenges you're going through, so that you can help others. Welcome to my journey of an alcoholic father.